Welcome back to Law and Crime Live. I'm Stacey Delikat, and thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. We are continuing to cover the murder trial of George Birch out of Green Bay, Wisconsin all day today, but we are going to take a short break for a very special, exclusive interview. If you've been watching Law and Crime Live, you know that yesterday a Florida jury decided that Donald Smith should be sent to death for murdering and raping 8-year-old Chrish Perrywinkle back in 2013. It has been an emotional case that has touched the hearts of so many people, and I am joined right now by Chrish's father, Billy Jarreau. He's joining us from Lakeside, California, along with his attorney, Gerald Wilkerson, who's down in Florida. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both so much for being with us here on Law and Crime today.
Thank you for having us.
Billy, I want to start with you. This has been such an emotional case for so many people. This is really every parent's worst nightmare. It was emotional in the courtroom yesterday. We know after the jury announced that they had unanimously decided on death for Donald Smith, some of the jurors were crying. What was your reaction yesterday, and do you feel like justice has been served for your daughter?
When they announced it, I was at my office and friends of mine were surrounding me, and I broke out crying. But no, it's not justice. The legal system works the way it works. But he's been living for 5 years after the death of my daughter, and he's going to be living until the death penalty is either done or whatever the case may be, and that's not justice. She didn't get that option to live those many years. She was 8.5 years old, and she was taken away that night. So. No, I don't feel that's justice regardless. And I don't think there is a way to have justice in something like this,
Were you glad, do you feel any sense of closure at least that the jury came to this decision? Had you supported this decision that he get the death penalty?
I don't have a comment on either one of those because I have my feelings towards the death penalty. In certain situations it should be, but it's not my decision to make that decision. Either way it would have went, I'm okay with it because I know how long the death penalty takes, and knowing the history of this guy, he's had drug problems, and I mean he's 60-something years old right now. The odds are he's probably going to die of old age in prison anyway. So I don't have, like I said, the death penalty to me is a touchy situation. In some cases I justify it, in some cases I don't. Because it happened to me, I don't want to use that as a reason, but in this case, looking at the facts that I've seen, yes, I justified the death penalty verdict yesterday.
We know that
evidence.
We know that the judge will officially, very likely, hand down this death sentence later next month. Do you plan to be in Florida in the courtroom? What would you like to tell the judge?
I do not plan it. Actually, I've asked my attorney. We've sat together, and he has an official statement he's going to be reading for me at that point. I don't want to be in the same courtroom with the guy. I'm pretty scared of myself, and I know I'm scared that I would have had the same thing happen with the guy.
Seems like
so
we lost.
I won't be there.
We lost your connection for just a moment, but Billy, or if I have your attorney, Mr. Wilkerson, on the line, what do you guys want to convey to the judge before she officially hands down this death sentence?
What we want to convey is that we are asking the court to consider the impact this has had on Mr. Jarreau and his family. It's been a horrible situation for him, and so the purpose of the Spencer hearing is to present additional evidence to the court so she can take that into consideration in deciding whether she's going to follow the jury's recommendation. So what we'd like to do is say that we'd like her to follow the jury recommendation because the impact that this has had on his family has been enormous.
Yeah, I can only imagine, actually can't even imagine as a parent myself. And Billy, I know this is especially hard because there had been a long court battle when Chrish was alive that you had wanted custody of her. You have been vocal in your opinion that Chrish would have been safer with you, right?
Well, we've had that discussion, and my attorney Jarreau and I have had that discussion many times. He brought up some points. We didn't have enough evidence to actually get full custody where Chrish would have had to have visitation the other way. It would have been just opposite of what we had. So we'd have had joint visitation, and this could have easily happened again when she was in her custody. I mean, so to say that she wouldn't have had it, yes, that night would not have happened, obviously. but it could have happened any other time. So that's open-end question. Who knows what could be, or what could have been, I should say.
Mr. Wilkerson, now that this criminal case is over, I know there has been talk in the past. Is there anything that you could pursue legally against Cherish's mom or the city, or anything else you can do from a legal standpoint?
No, Mr. Jarreau is just ready to move on with his life and put this behind him. And, we've explored options. I do believe personally that the mother is also criminally liable, but that's something that the state has already made a determination on. So at this point, we're just ready to put this behind us and move on. Mr. Jarreau has a wonderful family back in California, and he'd like to just move on with his life at this point.
Understandably. Billy, I know that you have in recent years started working with other men, started reaching out to see how you might be able to help other dads who are having custody issues or may want to try to get custody of their children. Can you tell us a little bit about that work?
Well, actually, a lot of people have reached out to me and asked me questions about my process, because there are people. I mean, you would not believe how many dads are fighting the same battle, and it seems to be the same story. The courts have the mentality that the child is always better with the mother, and that's not always the case. So yeah, most people have reached out to me and asked me questions of what happened here and what happened there, and where did I make mistakes, what could I have done differently to not let that happen again. So that's been a lot of what's been going on. You'd be surprised at the people that have reached out. It's amazing.
And what do you tell them? What can you tell them?
Well, they ask specific questions about certain things of how would you handle this, and I listen to what they say, and I tell them, I say, I'm not by no means any kind of attorney or anything, but what happened in my case was this, and I give them my examples, and they would thank me for the help that I could give them. Like I said, I can't legally direct them, but when they ask questions, I'm more than happy to tell them, hey, this is what happened to me, and I don't recommend you try this route, or don't try that, or this probably help you in your situation, and things like that. I mean, everybody has a different case, so it's really not, it's hard to really. I sympathize for the dads because I feel them. I've been in their position, and I'm in their position, so I understand why they reach out to me and ask questions. But there's not a lot you can. I mean, as an attorney, you can only do so much, and as a dad, you can only do so much. We did all we. I mean, Jarreau and I, he knows from the bottom of our hearts, we did all we could. We just could not convince the courts to turn the situation around. There was times I heard things in the court. I'm like, are you serious? And we still can't get a turnaround. I mean, this. I stated in court many times. I said this is a disaster waiting to happen, but never in my wildest dreams that I've ever dreamed that this would have happened. I mean, I seen bad things happening, and I knew bad things were going to happen, but in no way I couldn't call this one at all. Not at all.
No, I mean, who could ever, imagine this really
horrific
imagine this,
nightmare? Nobody can imagine this.
Gerald, I just want to add. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Billy.
I was hoping that something would happen to the point where we had enough evidence to prove that we could get custody. That's what the goal was. Everything we presented seemed like it never worked. I mean, I presented the facts that she had mental issues. We presented a lot of other facts, and I'm never getting into all that because that's for here and no say anymore. But we presented a lot of things that I thought was enough to say, hey, this misses it. The mother did try to keep me out of her life as much as possible, so I couldn't see a lot of things that went on. So because of that, there was so much. I told the judge many times, I said, there's a lot of things we can't even see. Could you imagine if I'm seeing these things, what's really going on? And it was never enough.
Before we let you go, Billy and Mr. Wilkerson, I understand what your attorney said, that this has been such a difficult time. You are ready to put this behind you, but of course, I'm sure you will never put the memory of your child behind you. And I'm wondering what you can share with us about what you'll remember most about Cherish. Of course, in the end, this is a case about a little girl whose life was viciously robbed from her. And what do you want people to know about her, and how do you think she should be remembered?
Well, the truth of the matter is, the only victim in this whole thing was Cherish. She was, wow. It's hard to explain it, but this child was going through stuff in her life, and I know she was going through stuff because I could read and I could see things around her, and you'd never see her unhappy. She was never miserable. She never had any signs of anything. She was just smiling, just the biggest smile on her face every time you've seen her. And I know if you talk to people in Jacksonville, they'll tell you the same thing. This child was never, considering what was really going on and all the things that I can't talk about, but I know for a fact that are things that I saw. it just blows my mind. It's just to have an 8-year-old just be taken out like this. It's just unreal. I just hope they remember her smiling face and the fact that she had a good life ahead of her and would have probably been very successful at something. But we'll never know now. We'll never know.
Well, Billy Jarreau, I want to thank you so much for sharing those memories and your opinions in this case, and thank you to your attorney, Gerald Wilkerson. We appreciate both of your time and our sincerest condolences to you, Mr. Jarreau, for everything that has happened and that you have had to go through. Again, we want to thank you both for being with us in this exclusive interview.
No, thank you for us.
Well, again, that was Billy Jarreau, Chrish Perrywinkle's father, getting visibly and understandably emotional as he remembered his 8-year-old daughter. Let's go ahead right now and replay yesterday's verdict when the jury came back and said they had unanimously agreed to send Chrish Perrywinkle's killer to death.